What's special about the Maine Woods? One thing that's special is that it has inspired people to go out and talk and paint and act on their experiences here to protect areas. This area has been seminal in the inspiration, inspiring, and the thinking of some really, really important people, but most people don't know that story. For example, Henry David Thoreau left his cabin on the shore of Walden Pond in the 1840s, and he wanted to find wilderness. He wanted to personally experience wilderness. And he could have gone anywhere. He could have gone to the Rocky Mountains and California, as many people were at that time, to find real wilderness. He came here, he came right here to the heart of the Maine Woods, and he made 3 journeys into the heart of the Maine Woods to find wilderness and to experience it personally. And he wrote about it in his writings that were collected into a book called Maine Woods. In that you can find a passage where Thoreau talks about the kings of England had their royal hunting preserves. But this is America, this is a democracy. We the people rule here. Why shouldn't we the people have our preserves? And Thoreau was the first person to talk about protecting what today we would call national parks in the eastern United States. And that was inspired in him by his experiences right here in the heart of the Maine Woods. Thoreau did that through his writings. Frederick Church did that through his paintings. A lot of people aren't that familiar with Church today, but Frederick Church in the last half of the 19th century was the most famous landscape artist in America, maybe in the world. And he too, like Thoreau, he sought out wilderness areas, and it was a real difficult experience to get into these kinds of areas in the 1850s and 60s and so forth. But Church did it time and time again. He looked for wilderness all over North and South America, but he always came back here to the heart of the Maine Woods. And the third one was Teddy Roosevelt. Not that many people know that when Teddy Roosevelt was still a student in college, he made many trips here into the Maine Woods. He traveled by foot and by canoe over 1,000 miles, a lot of that in the wintertime. It really was a seminal experience for him to have those wilderness experiences here deep in the Maine Woods. And of course, it was only a relatively few years later when he became president. He was one of our most important conservation presidents. He protected millions of acres in national parks and national wildlife refuges and so forth. And all of that really in many ways can be traced back to his personal experiences right here in the Maine Woods. I grew up here in Maine, lived here my whole life. I went to the University of Maine and I worked for the state of Maine for many years in conservation jobs. But what I realized is that I really couldn't think of a compelling reason to leave. I couldn't think of a better place to live, and I couldn't think of a state that needed and deserved the kind of energy that I really want to put into protecting wild places in my own home state of Maine. Only 2% of the state of Maine is actually permanently protected for its natural features. And you know, at one time all of this was wilderness, and it has dwindled down to a tiny fraction. But we need something better than 2% for all of the recreational and historic and social and biological values that wilderness provides. When I come to a place like this, a beautiful forest, it's diverse, it has hardwoods and softwoods. It's fall now, so the leaves are starting to turn on the hardwoods. It's the smell of it, the feel of it. Walking on this ground is not like walking on pavement. Breathing this air is not like breathing the air when I'm in the city. It's different. It's a living organism. And anybody who spends any time, I think, in a place like this, in a wild forest like this, can get a feel for how different it is and how special it is. I've skied hundreds of miles in the wintertime in the Maine Woods. I've hiked miles and miles and miles. I've canoed probably now thousands of miles through the Maine Woods. And those are magnificent experiences, but it's not about quantity. To me, it's about quality. I could sit here all day and not even move and listen to the bird song. And that's what's special to me about the Maine Woods. Well, what I'd like to see for the future of this area, this beautiful area we call the Maine Woods, is to protect a big piece of it for the public forever. Maybe that's going to be in a national park. Maybe it'll end up being in some other type of conservation. I'm not so concerned about exactly the way we protect it. I'm very concerned that we do protect the opportunity that we have here. There just is no other place. Do it for the trees and do it for the wildlife and do it for your children and my children and do it for the future. Do something that you care passionately about. That's the message I want to send. We can't all go to wild places. I know that a lot of people will probably not get to the heart of the Maine Woods, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't care about it. Just as much as millions of people have said they want to protect the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge from oil drilling and to protect the wildlife there, the Maine Woods is the equivalent of that in many ways here in the Northeast. And whether or not you ever get a chance to step foot in this area, it's an important part of our national heritage. It is one of America's grand landscapes.